Hello, hi there, gorgeous Taurians. I hope that you are well. Welcome to my channel, and this is your love stroke pandemic horoscope for April 2020 because we do live in strange times, and usually this is a love reading, but because what's happening in the world is definitely going to influence some of your love lives, it makes sense for me to allow it to come in. So if you're watching me for the first time, most people know me as a secret psychic. I'm a psychic. I don't read cards. I interpret the information that I get from spirit to help you navigate through your month. All right. And for you Taurians, what can I say? I have to say yours is different from most people's because yours is really good for the first couple of weeks and then gets a little bit dodgy. And as I talk this through, we'll figure out why that is a little bit. So I have to say, for the first couple of weeks, for those of you who are single or not single, doesn't really matter, I don't think, you are really wanting to be more engaged with your love life. So maybe for some Taurians, you have a bit more time in your hand, that you're really engaged with your husband or your wife, with your girlfriend, with your boyfriend, and you are just bonding in many different ways, guys. You are loved up, you are doing things together, you're spending much more time together, and even if you are in a relationship where you don't live together and there's some separation, it doesn't seem to really matter. I feel like you're FaceTiming, you're doing extra things, being more amorous. You're just being more. There is a closeness. And also you have this weird attitude. Well, maybe it's not weird. You're quite enjoying saving money. You're quite enjoying not having to have the trappings maybe of all the social interactions that would cost you stuff. And maybe that you are having some impact with your work, that actually you are enjoying the kind of, like, maybe it's the kind of element in your sign that enjoys maths or order, where you are liking your new routine that also includes how you limit yourself. You're thriving in it a little bit, like you're being really creative. You're basically in the first couple of weeks shown as being a lot more optimistic, a lot more in love. If you're single, you'll be dating, you'll be chatting, you'll be mingling, and you're really wanting to invest your emotions. So a lot of you are not just doing it for fun, you're doing it to really have a connection because you have a lot of time. I feel like you really also feel like you need to just, especially if you live on your own, like want to connect with somebody who thinks the way you do, who has the fears the same way you do, and how actually sometimes our fears can really, really bond us. I'm getting that kind of old time World War One, World War Two kind of feeling where people would meet people and they would then fall in love really, really quickly, because sometimes when we feel like we are in danger or have less life, we tend to bond more quicker with people. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that we are in some kind of apocalypse, because we are not in an apocalypse. We are actually, this is something that will pass, but that's the feeling that you guys have. So you're really loved up. I feel like a lot of you be making maybe some overcommitments to new people, or not, that maybe you really have met somebody who is really wonderful for you and you're just wanting to just dive in with that. And then it changes, I have to say. So you have this first couple of weeks where you're slightly, maybe a little bit, not in denial, you're just more like, just want to be in the moment that you're in. You're trying to make the most of the situation, and your love life definitely is for you guys like a huge, huge focus, and that's a beautiful thing. And then the third week, there's some heartache, and I have to say, given that we live in these times, that heartache could be because it's coming from romance, or it could be the heartache of seeing what's happening in your country, the heartache that's happening with somebody that you know. There is some bad news you need to be prepared for. I don't like to sugarcoat everything. If there's something negative that I see, best be prepared, guys, than not at all. In the third week, it's like your bubble's been burst from an outside, and you feel on guard. You feel a little bit like you want to protect yourself from being hurt again. Now, sometimes when I see that particular emotion, it does mean because the romantic interest that we're in maybe has gone AWOL, or has kind of left us, or hasn't, or something has gone wrong in that department. But if that's the case for you, obviously you will, you won't feel great. But if it's hard because I'm giving a general reading. Again, this could be a bereavement in the family. I'm not going to lie. This could be that you're just so shocked by the statistics that are happening in your town or your country that it's just overtaken you prioritizing yourself. Because the one thing about this pandemic is it does give us a sense of society and a sense of community that will draw us all in, and it feels in that moment you're drawn. That's the moment you're drawn more into it than other signs are. You're awakened more to it, whether you slightly like it or not. So just be aware that that third week for you guys is coming across as being tough. I so hope I'm wrong, and I hope that for a lot of you this doesn't apply, but better I say it than not say it at all. I also get there's a lot of unfairness. So again, if this has happened because of something romantic, you might find the reasons why that something is broken up. It seems really unfair, and I feel like you'll want to kind of push back against that or defend yourself about get with that, and that is fine also too. If this is, some of you might also find, if you're watching this where you're in the countries where the restrictions get maybe too much, you may be pushing against that. Maybe where the deaths and the news are too much, you're pushing against that. I feel, and I've seen this with most signs, but with you in particular, it feels like you're angry and you want to fight back and you want to do something about it, and it's all consuming in that moment. It's hard because I feel these are real emotions, and I feel like that they will have, how you act in this will say something more about you, but also say more about the outcome that you want. And I feel like it's important that if you want to get angry, you can, but funnel that anger into something that brings about positive solutions, and not anger that brings around more upset or upset to an individual. Don't project it in a negative way. Basically, nothing's coming up necessarily about your work. It feels more like your romantic interest gets more impacted than with what happens in the world. That feels a little bit unfair to you, but also unfair generally, if that kind of makes sense. So I hate to leave it there. I feel this power that you're given at the end of the month to kind of drive this through a lot better is really, really helpful for you. And just, if you can use that in a positive way, then you'll ride through the bit that gets a bit messy a little bit better, if that makes sense. And I hope that helps. I'll be back again in May with another update where hopefully we're a little bit more on the other side of this mess that's happening in the world. You all take care now, my lovely people, and I'll speak to you again soon.